Melissa Meiste here from Nephew Physical Therapy. I am blessed to have friends that live all over the country. The problem is, I can't help them all. I can't tell you how many times they're like, well, how do I find a good physical therapist? They'll watch our videos or check out the newsletter and they want physical therapy, but they've kind of had, I hate to say it, a crappy experience before, and they're just not sure how to find a great physical therapist. So I got a few tips for you guys, for my friends that live in Texas and Georgia and all the other corners of the country. Things that I would ask if Nephew Physical Therapy wasn't in my backyard on what kind of clinic do you want to work with and where you're going to get your best value. Because keep in mind, what I'm about to share with you are the values that are important to us and what we do to create the best patient experience. So tip number one, does the person who answers the phone sounds like they hate their life? You know how that happens. You call somewhere and that person couldn't be more grumpier. Well, it's a good question to ask. Do I like that person? And how did they handle that initial phone call? Because that's the person who's going to be scheduling you and dealing with your insurance and all the other things. So kind of a good first test. Next thing, you want to know, what is the ratio of physical therapist to patient? Now at Nephew Physical Therapy, we treat our patients one-on-one for an hour because there's a lot of stuff we need to get done. A lot of clinics aren't treating clients that way. They may be juggling 2, 3, or more patients every hour. Now, of course, I don't know what options there are in your neighborhood, but I would be looking for a clinic that provides one-on-one direct care because believe me, I don't like to share. How long is their standard appointment? I think this is a really important question to ask because a lot of clinics have even moved to just 30 minutes for an appointment. 30 minutes? I can't get anything done with a patient in 30 minutes. For us, we know that an hour is about the right amount of time for us to do the things that are important. As I'll talk about later, or I'll just combine it right here, you want to make sure that your physical therapy is skilled. Meaning, are you doing things there that you can't do at home? And that's where that appointment length, time, right, how long you are in therapy is important for education. So yes, they should be teaching you things. It's time for manual therapy. It's time for exercises. It's time to check in on your homework. All of those things are really important. So how long is each standard appointment time? The laying of hands. Oh yes, I don't know how else to say touch without sounding inappropriate. Whether it's myofascial release, massage, soft tissue mobilization, scraping, cupping, transverse friction massage, all those are fancy terms that we use for working on the muscles and joints. Touching, addressing soft tissue issues, where pain is, all of those kind of things, really, really important. So how much is manual therapy utilized in their clinic? Exercise, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how many times we've had people come to our clinic and tell us they have gone to another physical therapy place where their PT or PTA says, go do that exercise. And then they do it and they stand there and wait until they come back to tell them to do the next thing. Or they're literally going from machine to machine on their own, figuring out what to do without any direct instruction. We have discovered and truly believe that because you're broken and you're injured, well, your body's going to compensate, right? And so if an exercise is too easy, it either means that one, you're doing it wrong, or two, we need to make it harder. And that's where your physical therapist, at least at Nephew Physical Therapy, will guide you, teach you, correct you, touch you, move you, whatever you need, so that you're actually doing the exercise correctly so that you can change the function, the loss of motion, the pain, the whatever it is, so you actually get better and don't reinforce all the problems you showed up with. The heart of a teacher. This is the Dave Ramsey principle when it comes to understanding your money, but we think it's very, very, very true when it comes to the human body. Our initial visits include a great overview of our findings, what's limited, what's weak, what's tight, and we want to give you the best picture we can in layman's terms so that you understand what we think is wrong with you and our plan to address and fix that. If you don't understand why, you need to ask. And if your therapist doesn't ask you or answer you, you might want to find another place. Homework. Oh yes, physical therapy, as I like to say, we will physically work on you and you will physically have to do some work. Some of that work comes at home. What we have found, especially because we've had patients come in with stacks of papers, like they ran off 27 different stretches they could be doing for their neck. And what we have found is when there's too many exercises, it's not that they'll just do one and quit. They'll do none. Our patients, if we give them too much, they won't do anything because it's too overwhelming. So we think that exercises at home, one, should be easy to reproduce, meaning it doesn't require fancy equipment you don't have. It should be specific and written down. So our exercises come with instructions, a picture, all of those details. Then it really should be limited, meaning 4 to 6 exercises at most. So you're not overwhelmed when you're at home. And then what's really important about that homework is that follow-up, right? There's a reason why we've talked about many times where I can't just give you an exercise to fix you. You need to do it, try it, come back, and then we review it. Did it work? Did it make you better? Did it make you worse? I watch your technique. I go, ooh, that's not very good. So I didn't either teach it very well or you weren't listening well. And we got to figure out how to fix that problem so you really do make progress. Consistency. Oh my goodness. Okay. Last one. This is really, really sometimes a forgotten question. And we only bring it up because, again, we've had patients come to us after they've been somewhere else where they say they saw 3 different therapists while they were at another clinic. Now, I can tell you, sometimes you will see the entire team, 2 or 3 therapists while you're in treatment here. The problem with the other clinics, as our patients have described to us, is that every single treatment was different. One therapist did this, the next appointment they did a completely different approach, and then the third appointment completely different. We want your appointments to be consistent in what that treatment includes, and that's what our team works really hard to do here. We focus on consistency in manual therapy and what our exercises are. Yes, each therapist is going to have a slightly different flair based on their knowledge and experience, but we want those appointments to feel smooth and predictable, and that's why we work together as a team. So you're going to want to ask, how consistent is my therapy, and how many therapists might I see during the course of treatment, and really get an honest answer. So there's a few tips for you to ask yourself when you're choosing a place. Call the front desk. Ask them. They may not be able to answer them, but will they actually give you access to one of their therapists? Know that I've taken those calls here in this office when somebody's like, well, do you do this or that? Of course the front desk doesn't know how to answer those. They're not therapists. But it's important for us to take the time again to explain the why, to explain what's important, and ultimately, how do we get people to feel better? So again, to my friends in Texas and all the other corners of the world, please ask good questions, do your research, and honestly, don't be afraid to fire your therapist until you find somebody that you want to work with. Because really, having a long-term relationship with your favorite physical therapist and physical therapy clinic is just good health. Until next time, everybody, remember, pain is not normal.